Welcome to A Kid's Life podcast. I'm Angela Lockwood, and for the last 20 years, I have been working in schools, supporting teachers to build inclusive classrooms. Through A Kid's Life podcast, my goal is to help us adults better understand the complexities of life as a kid. My guests and I share stories, reflections, and simple strategies to support kids of all needs as they walk through life. So whether you're looking for inspiration, direction, guidance, tips, or just a laugh, A Kid's Life podcast is the place for you. Enjoy. My special guest today, she's colourful, she's fun, but she is super smart. She's committed to helping parents enjoy parenting, but also doesn't skim over the fact that parenting can be challenging. Amy Cox is the CEO and founder of Playful Families. She answers to mum to 2 boys and 2 girls. She's a play therapist, an award winner, an author, and a self-confessed adventurer. Now, offline, I was talking to Amy, and we actually both had to stop ourselves from talking, and we were like, quick, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this actually in the episode. So I know the next half an hour of our time is going to be so well spent talking to Amy. Welcome to A Kid's Life podcast, Amy Cox.
Thank you for having me. I am beyond thrilled to be here.
I feel like I just want to go and have a play date with you somewhere because I really do. Amy and I, this is the first time we've ever spoken, and I've watched your stuff for so long. I love the value that you're providing to parents and the energy and the insights. So I feel very privileged to meet you.
Oh, thanks. Likewise.
Thank you. All right. Now, we have to stay condensed here, apparently, because Amy and I feel like we have so much to talk about, but I feel like I have so much to learn from Amy as well. So, Amy, I want to start with your byline that I've seen on all of your stuff. It's let's enjoy parenting, one imperfect moment at a time. I just love it. Can you tell me about how you came up with that and what was the thinking behind it?
Oh, absolutely. So I guess in a nutshell, Angela, like I had 4 kids in 5 years. So pre-kids Amy was this absolute high achieving change education. I was a former award-winning teacher. So I had this incredibly concise view of what I was going to be like when I had my children. And, you know, they were going to be reading and writing and doing all of the things when they entered school. And so when I had my first son, you know, it was sunshine and rainbows, and this sounds a little arrogant, but, you know, it was okay. He slept through the night at 10 weeks. We had this, you know, dream child. But when my next children came, it was like I had these 3 kids in 3 years, 4 kids in 5. And all of a sudden, all of these expectations, all of these things that I said I was going to do, these things I was going to try with my kids, the type of children they were going to be, it wasn't uplifting, it was actually strangling. And so, and we'll dive probably a little bit into social media a little bit later on, but it is so important in my work to recognize that like perfection is a unicorn. It doesn't exist. And I think so often parents, me included, we strive for this unattainable ideal when there is so much joy waiting to be found in the everyday micro moments. And so that's in a nutshell why I do what I do, because even although we do have these moments, we're like, what? Did you just say that? And what? And oh my goodness, I've just got a handle on this stage, and then it changes. There are still so many moments of joy that are embedded in our day-to-day if we know where to look for them and if we put the emphasis on them. So I reckon that is the shortest thing I've ever said about what I do or why I do what I do. So,
well, do you know what? I'm going to jump straight to, I'm going to say probably the heart of what a lot of parents think when they think about play and joy is a lot of parents are tired. A lot of parents feel stressed themselves. They're just dragging themselves through the day. Now, not every parent is like that all the time, but I'm sure we all have our moments. You talk about play and joy. How can we tap into that when we're feeling this tired, this busy, like sometimes we're running around like chickens with their heads cut off? How can we tap into that?
Like I love my analogies and I love songs. I like every time I am thinking of explaining something, Angela, I've got a song to just belt out. I'm not going to do that to you now. But my first suggestion is just get your Johnny Farnham on and take the pressure down. Like why is it that we feel this need to be a certain level? Like you think about nature, just as broad concept. Like, you can't plant a crop and then just keep pulling out the crops all the time. Like, you have to allow that rest period. You think about women and how cyclical we are. There are going to be times that we feel like that we flow. There's going to be the ebbs and the flows. And so often without realizing, we've got these subconscious things in our mind thinking, I have to be this way. I have to force myself through it. And when you do that, it's not authentic. And so part of what I do with my own children and what I teach in my programs and to my communities is that children can't be what they can't see. And if we're modeling like, oh, okay, I just have to force through and I've got to be joy and I've got to bring the joy and be playful and all the things, when actually I just feel like curling up with a book on the couch or having a bath or just sleeping in or whatever the thing is. When we think about, like, at the very basic level with our kids, what we're modeling to them is that we don't have to be this, unicorn human that just, is skipping around every minute of the day thinking, I love my life, because it's not authentic. If we force it, it's not authentic. And so that probably would be the very first thing I would say, is that if you don't feel like bringing the joy, own that. Like, teach that to your kids, because we don't need another generation of humans coming up that are addicted to all of these things. Like, it is so important that we slow down and we just acknowledge and go with how we feel in our bodies.
I love hearing this from women who are in this space as well, because I think what we hear too many times and see too many times in social media is that perfection, and the mum who looks like an Instagram model and she's just gorgeous and her daughter's matching, you got the matching dress on. The only thing that I have matching with my daughter is we both pull our hair back in a low pony. Because, we just can't be bothered sometimes. But I do want to touch on that with Instagram with you, of course. You have, I think, right at the time of this recording, around 85,000 Instagram followers. I know. I love your face just then. People can't see that. I know people can't see. Amy's eyes just like bulged out of her head then. 85,000 followers. Now, I think that actually does that class you as an Instagram influencer? Because you'd be the first influencer that I'd ever be able to, relate to, I think.
No.
Oh, come on. You got to own that. But you're an influencer who makes a difference, right? So why do you think, like you touched earlier on connection. So you have this community, and I get this real sense from you that you're really wanting to add value for people and wanting to connect with people. Tell me about how in the world did you get that following, and what is it about your Instagram reels and the information you're giving that make people want more?
I just want to rewind, because you said two things that I'm going to touch on in my response. Now, the very first thing that I will say is that I live in a rural city. So literally 1,600 kilometres, northwest WA, 40 degrees 4 months of the year. So where I live, it's really hot. And we moved to this place when I had 4 kids under the age of 5. So I had come from Perth with a cajillion, like my hubby and I both were one of 4. We've got like 80,000 friends and 80,000, like all of the peeps that needed us all the time. And I was this teacher, I was working and I was running a small business and doing all of these things. And we moved to the Pilbara for my husband's work. He works advocating for the rights of Indigenous teenage boys. And so he is an incredible man. I love him to absolute bits. But when we moved here, all of a sudden and I'm using inverted commas here, all I had to do was look after my 4 kids under the age of 5. And so what I did in those moments, because humans are driven by, 3 psychological drivers: connection, competence, and control. Like, I lost my sense of identity in a way when we moved here, because that professional Amy, that award winner, that person that was going to make us, a big splash in the education space, I didn't have that anymore when we moved here. And so that was sort of the background, I guess, behind my Insta when we first came, because that was my outlet. I just started sharing snippets of my kids' play. I'm an extremely passionate play advocate, because I'm here to elevate play. I'm here to show how important it is for children's lives. But what happened, because this is like, not that I'm like an OG Insta person, when you're like OG, I'm not an OG, but it was like 2015 when I first started sharing all these things. And what I started noticing was this incredible, like, picture perfect image of play that it was just this, not toxic, but it just was the opposite of everything that I knew about play. So I'd share this screenshot of, or, this tiny snippet with a caption about how chaotic and all of the other things that were happening behind the scenes. But then this culture, this trend, this thing started emerging where there were just all of these pictures of these perfect families and these perfect, activities. And I hate that word. It's like nails on a chalkboard for me, but these perfect things. And in my mind, I couldn't share anymore. So I co-founded a challenge account back then called Early Learning 101, the goal of which was to really show and prove how important play was in the early years. Now, to this day, I think there's maybe 190, 200,000 photos that have been shared from that hashtag. So this combination of that, because we were so invested in that growth and advocating for play in that way. But when I started seeing all of these perfect images, I just thought, I can't do this anymore. This is against everything I know about not only, how kids learn, but also what's happening in adults' minds, because we're driven to try to fit in. And without realizing, we're looking externally to all these images and thinking, okay, well, if that chick is doing activities all day long, then that just must be how you parent. And if my kids aren't engaging in that the way that looks, then they must be broken, they must be wrong, they must be whatever the things are. But that's the opposite of what it is. And so it took me many years, I'm not going to lie to you, Angela, to be able to show up like I have been doing over the last few years. But perfection, as I said earlier, I'll say it a kajillion more times, it doesn't exist. It's a unicorn. And so I think that I've totally tangented what I was going to say, but the point is that Instagram and social media can be this powerful way to connect with other people, but we've got to be really careful with the weighting that we're giving it on and the way that we're comparing our kids and stuff to other people's lives on there as well.
I love talking about this because obviously with that amount of followers, a lot of people go like, oh my God, she's amazing. She must have so much strategy behind it. But I love that it was actually about giving. It was about connecting with people and showing the real part of life, which, we all need as parents. And one of the things with parents of modern day parenting is that sense of being busy. I know a lot of people talk about busy, busy, busy. Tell me your thoughts around that. I just saw an actual visceral response from you then. Tell me... I feel like I've just opened Pandora's box. Go, Amy Cox. Tell me your thoughts.
What I would love to just invite people to think about is when you say to your friend that you haven't seen in a little while, or you're catching up with somebody in the schoolyard, or, how are you? And the response is busy. Busy isn't a feeling. Busy isn't like a how are you? That's not a feeling. And yet culturally, we're immersed in this toxic culture that more is better, faster is better. And busy is worn as this badge of honor. It's worn as this, it's like, okay, well, you're busy, you must be doing it right. And so this is, I guess, another reason for me showing up in the way that I do online, because I want to be the antidote to that darker side of modern life. Busy isn't a feeling. When I see you, and I'm a hard, deep, fast sort of friend, you do not want to have 3-word wines with me after 9 p.m. because it's
actually I do now that I've met you. Yes, I do.
It is because I don't want to hear busy. How are you? I want to hear I'm feeling overwhelmed with the constant pressure to do more. I'm feeling like I'm trying my best and still failing. And I think that that's the thing it's so, again, coming back to that social media thing, that's toxic because we look externally, we look outwards, we look at what everyone else is seemingly doing, privy to these behind the scenes of other people's lives, when they're not the whole picture. It's not the way that it is. And so my research, so I'm a therapeutic play practitioner. I'm on the journey to play therapy. I have got crazy passion to help parents enjoy the delicious challenge of raising awesome humans. But one aspect of my work is to elevate play as a highly relevant 21st century neurobiological activity. Who the hell cares what those fancy words mean? But what it means, it's the antidote to busy. It's that recognition that in between, the space in between the things, that's when life happens. That's when you forge those connections with those incredible humans that have been blessed, that you've been blessed to be their parent. They are the times. And today, Angela, in my background, I've got 2 of my kids home from mental health day, because that space is so important. But in our culture, it's just pushed through at any cost. And the cost generally is your mental health, which now is starting to get a bit more traction. People are starting to say, wow, this is actually a really important thing. Or the relationships that you have with the people that actually matter the most to you. It just doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so that it does give me a very visceral response, busy, because it's not a response to how are you.
No, and I even loved when you mentioned those responses rather than busy. You just calmed down. They were deep. I could imagine what flows from that is actually a deep conversation about what's really going on. But busy is like, the fine response. How are you? I'm fine. It's like, no, well, if you're fine, you're probably not. And fine, what sort of word is fine? It's like a middle ground fine. So those responses, when people are really honest, you can have those deep conversations with people, can't you? And you can really be there and support them. Now, in saying that, the last couple of years, of course, it's been different. It's just another phase of difference. Have you found that parents have been able to reconnect with their kids differently? Like, what have you heard with your communities? What's been your experience? Has there been a reconnection to the joy of parenting, or has there been people going, oh my gosh, hurry up and go back to school?
To be honest with you, it's a combination. And I think that there's so many limiting beliefs that we take on board as truth. One of the limiting beliefs that I have seen so many times again and again is that, like, to be a good parent, I need to enjoy every single moment of my kids forever and ever and ever. I mean, I just need to enjoy them all the time. I just need to give it every second because blah, blah. But the reality of it is, it's okay if you need a break. It's okay if you need space. And so the beautiful polarity of life is that you can still love your kids and need space. You can still have 5 minutes to yourself, but that doesn't mean anything about the relationship that you have or want with your child. And I think that as a society, we need to make this shift. We need to change this narrative that we need to be on and busy and all of those things all of the time. And I think that has been the gift, and I use that phrase really lightly because this time isn't, it hasn't been a gift. There's been so many horrific things that have happened in the last 2 years. But the thing that I have found the most pleasing, maybe not the most exciting in a way, is that it's shining a light on all of these limiting things that society we've taken on board as truth, when really it's time to start shifting. It's time to start putting more emphasis on how you feel as a parent, your mental health, that guilt, that mother load, all of that sort of stuff. It started shining a light on this, and people are standing up and saying, enough. I've had enough. I've had enough of this, constant on. I've had enough of all of this. And if there has been one good, loose good thing, but we're starting to see the shift in that paradigm.
To your point around the space, it's okay not to always be with your children and on your children. And it was only this morning, I have my Pilates class, which is my, it's my thing. And, I take kids to training every night and doing things and weekend sports and school and all this sort of stuff. And it was interesting because now there's been a new sport has started of training prior to school now. So 7 o'clock in the morning, my kids have to be at school for the AFL training, which is, for those outside of Australia, it's a code of football. And I had to be at my Pilates class at 6 o'clock in the morning. And my kids were like, well, can you come back afterwards and pick us up? And I was like, no, I can't actually. You're going to come with me to Pilates. And they were like, well, what do you mean? And they said, it's like, that means we have to get up at 5:30. And I said, that's right. My kids are older, they're teenagers. And I said, that's right. You do need to be there. I said, because that's going to mean I'm going to have to do. And I went through the reasonings why. And what was really interesting is my kids started to go, oh, do you think you could do that? And they were trying to come up with all these other ways. And I said, do you know what? All of those solutions right now are helping you. They're not helping me. And what I loved around all that is, they came, and after I picked them up after training, and I said, how was that? And they said it was actually okay. And I was really proud of myself, Amy, because I think having that conversation with my kids about going, do you know what, right now, this is about me and making my life easier, because it's always about you and making your life easier. And having those really honest conversations, I think, is so important with our kids, no matter their age, right? You know, no matter their age, that it's, my life does not revolve around you. I am here for you and I will support you, but I also have aspects of my life I need to take care of. And for me, my highest value, well, one of my values is my health, you know? And so, yeah, so really to that point, that's exactly this morning how that played out for me. And I think having those conversations with your kids allows them to see different people's perspectives.
Absolutely. I just want to call out the guilt that we feel when this has to happen, because you know, when we have all this conditioning thinking you've got to be there for every second of your kids and soak it up and you're the one, you know, all these sort of things, there's an incredible amount of guilt that's associated with that when you put your own needs first. But when you think about it, and I love this conversation, because when you think about the sort of human that you want to raise, I don't know about you, but I don't want to raise people who are martyrs, who give away their needs the second life starts feeling like, you know, it gets busier and busier and busier. But again, this point of children can't be what they can't see. And if you don't want to raise martyrs, then you have to show them what not being a martyr looks like. And a part of this is really calling out that guilt and surrounding yourself and listening to things like this that really go against society and go against cultural norms. So, yeah, I would love to tell a story, similar thing, but about my son, who I just am the worst housewife ever. Like, if I was born in the 60s, I just don't know what I would have done. Like, I'm not even joking. I just do not know what I would have done if I was born in the 60s. My kids now are 11 and 10, 8 and 6. And my 11-year-old has been putting clean clothes in the washing to wash them. And I'm like, mate, I do not like washing. And here you are putting clean clothes in. And no matter how many times I told him how I felt, he still did it week after week. And so what we ended up doing was giving him the responsibility of doing the washing. And within 1 week of him doing that, he stopped putting the things in. And like, I feel like it's a perfect like follow on from what you just said about that modeling and encouraging our kids to consider others' perspectives. And from a holistic perspective in this society right now in history, we need humans who can see other people's perspectives, that can look beyond themselves, that can say, I see where you're coming from, and be able to have these respectful conversations. And that begins in the home, and it has to start in the home. Oof.
I know. I'm loving this conversation, because it really is about having honest conversations for parents, isn't it? I can remember when I wrote my first book, and I was sitting in cafes a lot, and I was writing thank you to the free Wi-Fi at my local cafe. And I can remember parents coming in, and they were all dressed in their activewear. They were all pushing their perfect prams, and the kids were all sitting on their iPads. And it actually sparked my second book, which was Switch Off, because I started hearing these conversations. And what was really interesting, and I guess I was eavesdropping. I'm going to call it research. But I was eavesdropping.
What were your ethics behind that?
That was sitting close to me, you know, they were close. I can remember listening to these mums, and they were all talking about their kids or themselves, how busy they were. And everything to me sounded like it was negative all the time, the experience. And I was sitting there thinking, well, I guess they're sharing with their friends around how things are going. But I often didn't hear the moments of joy, which is what you talk about, those moments in between. And for parents who are feeling like they're in that sort of a little bit of a negative spiral, how can they start to find those in-between moments? What are the things that you see? And I guess it's bringing play into it, but how can parents take that little bit of a step back and reconnect to those in-between moments?
Oh, I love this so much, because I think so often as a parent, and again, we're going to go too much into conditioning, but it is, we're programmed to look for what we're doing wrong. We're programmed to look for how we can be better, how our kids can be better, how we need to move them forward faster, how we can be something apart from who we are right now. And so the antidote to this is always gratitude. It's always gratitude, because guaranteed in your life right now, there's something that's good. And so thinking about, and this could be as simple as what's something that makes your life easier, and thinking about it through that lens. It might be your car. Now, this is not something we put our attention on a day-to-day thing normally because we're so busy, we're focusing on all the things. But what is something that makes your life easier right now? Is it a car? Is it a truck? Is it a interest that your child loves? Is it something that you're finding exciting? Because there's guaranteed to be something right now in your life that makes it better. And when I'm a bit esoteric, but where your attention goes, energy flows. And so if your attention is always on the deficit, is always on the negative, is always on that, then that's expansive. You're going to see more of those things. But if you're and again, it tells me like I had so much resistance to gratitude because I'm like, I am grateful. I love my kids, all the things. But actively practicing gratitude is so important. And there's so much research. Brene Brown's work, all of this research, how important gratitude is, that starts, just with those little tiny things.
And I think because parents really feel like they see images of somebody sitting meditating or somebody, at some beautiful nature place dressed gorgeous, and they're all writing about how they're journaling right now. But I think that's the images that we see, not just on social media, but that's what it feels like, even when we read in mainstream media. You see this is how you practice gratitude, the 10 ways. No, how you practice gratitude is by looking at something and feeling great, having gratitude for it. And I know one of my things, Amy, is I've always loved this, even since my kids were little tiny babies, is I would read to them every single night. And I still do when they're teenagers, not because they're well and truly able to read, but it's that moment of connection before they go to bed where I can sit with them and I love watching their face read. And that for me is something where, their cheeks are going to be like, Mom, you said what? But, their little face just feels beautiful. What are the things that you look at in your kids and just your heart just feels so full? What are the things that, I know you're probably going to have to cut it down to like just one or two. I know, but that's my things. Their little face when they read, it just makes my heart sing.
I love it. I just think leaning into who they are, not who we want them to be, not who the world says should be or anything, but just seeing them for who they are. And whether or not that's the innocence in their expression when we're reading together, whether or not it's the laugh when they are engaging in something that you might think that's really stupid, why the hell are you, but actually they're getting so much joy from that. It's a perspective shift of what it must feel like for them in that moment. And so like for each of my kids, 2 boys, 2 girls, totally different humans, same mum, dad, totally different. Like for my son, it's watching him engage in sport and his passion for sport. For my second, he just loves writing. He gets so much joy from writing and he's always got a book in his hands that he's reading in the series. For my daughter that's 8, she loves drawing. And for my youngest, she loves playing with animals and anything around that. And I think just that lens shift from like my to their and seeing them in that experience just really, it's just so expansive because you can see the things that make them them,
I don't want to finish our conversation without, I know I just took that space moment then just to listen. I hope all the listeners are doing that too, because it's important to listen and to take in words like yours, Amy, because as parents, we often forget, we get caught in the detail of things, really get caught in the detail. And then that's always been, I had a break from working with kids for about 8 years and was working with adults. And I was always working somehow with kids. I shouldn't say that, but I made a very deliberate return to being fully working with kids because I missed those in-between moments, not with my kids, but I love that spark and that twinkle in a child's eye when they do something they didn't think that they could do. That's what lights me up. And I look and I go, yes, you did it. What I don't want to finish up on, what I finish on without talking about, there you go, I got it. See, I get in my third eye space and get all tongue twisted when I talk about that with kids, is your enjoy approach. I really would love for you just to touch on what is that and how does that sort of simplify all of this for parents?
Absolutely. And again, I'll try hard. But most of the time, like I call these deliciously challenging things, but most of the time, the challenges in our life with our young people come from one of two things. They're either not doing the things that we want them to do, or they're doing the things that we don't want them to do. Now, both of these things are embedded in control when we don't have control of what our kids are doing. And I think this is the perfect way to finish. And enjoy is an acronym for what I do for Playful Families. So I help families enjoy those imperfect moments. And the first part of that is being able to embody the highest version of you, the version of you that if you fast forward in a ideal world when your kids are all grown up and you look back, and I get teary thinking about this because this just takes you out of those details like you were saying before. When you fast forward to when you're an old granny sitting on the rocking chair and your kids have got their kids and they're reminiscing about their childhood, like you can guarantee that the things that they're not saying. I just loved it when mum, was doing all of these things all the time. We were busy. It's about how we feel and how we make them feel. And I think that just takes so much pressure off because we realize that so many of those things come from the moments when we're fart kissing the kid's neck, when we're, putting them in the car seat, or we're, the gentle shoulder rub or the wrestle with our boys or whatever it is. But that embodiment of the highest version of you. And that's part of what I do, that enjoy approach is how can you do that? And the end is looking at the science of kids actually learn. We are so detached from how children actually grow and develop. And when we lean into the fact that, you from a relational biological perspective are so important in building your child's brain. That's why it has to start with you and how you feel about yourself, but also that you build your child's brain. So looking after yourself has to feature in that. And all of a sudden, those weight of everything just dissipates because it's no longer about the jobs that you need to do. It's about the way that you're looking after yourself and the way you make them feel. And J is for being a joy seeker. I naturally that's my disposition, but looking for those micro moments every day that aren't the big extravagant matchy, balloon arches, birthday party. You know what I mean? It's those beautiful, simple things. And to observe rather than judge. Observe, you see them in their experience. Judge, you put your opinion of their experience and you project that onto them. And why? It's just filling your toolbox, and I say that really loosely, but filling your repertoire of things that actually serve you, like not pigeonholing parenting approaches, not pigeonholing anything. It's not dogma, it's not anything like that. But what actually works for your family? And so that is our enjoy approach, in an absolute nutshell. But always, and I think that this is a perfect way potentially to wrap up on, but just thinking, how do I want to be remembered when my kids are all grown up? And just being that now. Because you don't need money, you don't need time, you don't need anything apart from yourself to be the embodiment of that person right now.
That is a perfect way to finish. But I know a lot of parents would be thinking, how can I get more of this woman? How can I get more of the enjoy approach? How can people get that, Amy? Of course, we're going to link everything that you do underneath, but what's the way that parents, if they want to know more about this enjoy approach, how can they connect?
Absolutely. So if you jump on my Instagram, Playful Families, I share reels, really simple like analogies of these, big concepts, but we distill them into real practical ways because I think it's, it's so easy to read all the books and do all of the things, but just what does that mean in one sentence? What does that mean in 1 minute?
To anyone that's listening, Amy's reels are unbelievable. They are so cleverly done, but so simple and so impactful. So if you don't follow Amy, I would 100% suggest you do. It's Playful Families on Instagram. And also Amy has also her Facebook page as well, which is also Playful Families. But yeah, your reels are so important for parents to watch.
Thank you. Thanks, Angela. I appreciate that.
Very much. So I will link to everything that Amy has in all of her spaces below the show notes. But Amy, I do want to say thank you. I know I feel like I don't want to wrap up, but with mindfulness of time and people's attention, I don't want to be selfish here and just keep you all for myself because I want to make sure that people get what they need. And I just want to say thank you so much for your time. But as somebody who also loves children and really wants to see children be at their best, thank you for the work that you've been doing and continue to do. And I know you're just at the beginning. I really hope parents that, the stuff that you're going to do really will impact families and children's lives. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I've loved it. Thanks for having me.
I've been joined today by Amy Cox, who is the founder and CEO of Playful Families. And as I said, links to all of her programs and ways you can connect with her are all at the bottom of this episode. I know you would have loved her energy and her insights, but her joy is just so palpable, even if it is in audio or video, which I've had the pleasure to have. Please connect in with Amy if you are wanting to be able to support your children and also to be able to really thrive as a beautiful, caring parent that you are. Thanks for joining me. I'm Angela Lockwood. For all of the programs that I'm running for teachers and parents, particularly Calm Confident Kids, please go over to angelalockwood.com.au. Thank you for listening to a Kids Life podcast. To stay up to date on all the new episodes, please subscribe on all the places where podcasts are found. If you want to learn more about my teacher and parent programs, please go to angelalockwood.com.au. Until next time, slow down, have fun, and take care of our kids.